Okay, we're just at the end of the 6 o'clock turn. It is just on 6:20, and a pretty bloody series of fire exchange and assaults along the line. The French activated first. They sent some skirmishers out. Their hussars couldn't activate. They've also sent the 45th Line Regiment, a battalion, the 2nd Battalion, out here to the right of Dresden. The 100th Line Regiment has shifted around to the right, expecting the Russians to move out here. But the Russians activated next, and perhaps seeing that French moving out to the right, they've now shifted to the north, and they launched 2 battalions in an assault on the far left of the flank line, the French line. They've moved up some skirmishes just in here, and this is a bit messy. This battalion in line, an extended battalion in line here, some more Russian skirmishers. The artillery has moved in here to get some hits on the French around here, and again, as I mentioned, those Russian skirmishers up there, with the Cossacks now shifting around to the north here. That was really a regroup maneuver to get close to Roth in the middle here. Now, in the fire exchange that took place, it was there were heavy casualties on both sides. You can see the skirmishers took a hit here. The hussars have taken a hit from earlier. That was, I think, a correction from last turn, artillery fire. There has been a hit here, some increment losses here, a step loss here with disorder among the French defending in town. More losses here, some losses here, and I think there are a total of 3 losses among this single battalion here during their assault on that French position. This is due to the combination of that French artillery with infantry stacked together here, a pretty good fire roll, and then a bloody assault roll. They caused 2 attacker losses and 1 defender losses. So those French infantry stacked with the artillery have suffered a hit, but they've held their ground and have inflicted a total of 4 increment losses on those attackers. Oops. So the Russians really pushing hard with their attacks, but some heavy casualties being sustained on both sides. Now, I've also just corrected a few things from last turn. As I mentioned, that artillery forgot to fire, and I had retreated, you may recall, those Russians off the map. Technically, their depot is actually way down here, so I've corrected that, and they're now retreating off to the south towards where their depot should be. I was trying to do it, I guess, thematically, retreating where they came from, but technically they should go down there, so I'll enforce that from now on. And in fact, I need to correct these guys. They should have regrouped back onto the map, which I'll do in a moment. But that's the end of the 6 p.m. turn. No substantial ground gained or lost, but again, as I said, heavy casualties on both sides. Okay, we're just at the end of the 6:20 p.m. turn. We're just on 6:40, and things aren't going well for the Russians. They're suffering a lot of casualties just in this fire exchange. They had the first activation this turn, and they didn't do a great deal. They did pull some units back, but mostly behind the lines, they're keeping things as they are. The Cossacks took a bit of a ride out here, which forced the French into square, and then they pulled out. It's getting a bit tight, so they're thinking they might shift out to the other side of the field, where there's a bit more open space. The French have sent the 100th Line Infantry Regiment out behind to the north. Elsewhere, though, again, they were pretty quiet. And in the fire exchange that took place, the French inflicted some heavy casualties on the Russians along the line. Conversely, the French didn't suffer much. There was another hit on the hussars out there due to ricochet. But other than that, I think the Russians are suffering most from those fire exchanges, and they're going to have to think about how they're going about this because they just are not being able to stand up against these French line infantry battalions around the town. So as we approach the 6:40 turn, this French defence is doing pretty well, and Russians may need to pull back, regroup, and reconsider their approach. That's what's happening. Okay, it's now the end of another hour. It is the end of the 6:40 p.m. turn. It's just on 7 p.m. And things are just getting worse for the Russians. They again continue to suffer the heavier casualties in this fire exchange. They are increasingly losing their morale check, suffering from disorder. I've pulled back a few Russians, and some of them managed to recover. In fact, I forgot to roll for these guys. They also recover. So they are recovering okay from disorder once they manage to pull back, but it is just they're suffering losses in this fire exchange. You can see here these guys down to 4 out of 7 increments. I think these guys are down to 2. These are down to 5. These are down to 3. And then the Hussars were active this turn as well, up in the south, and they charged some of the light Russian infantry. I think they are called, I could be wrong, is this the Egursky? Yeah, please correct me if I'm wrong there. Which they routed as a result of melee, and they were pursued by that cavalry, which eliminated them. So this is the first eliminated unit of the battle, and it is that Russian light infantry pursued by the Hussars. And the Cossacks were just very close, but they just had to stand and watch on as those Hussars ran down that Russian infantry. Elsewhere, the French have sent some of the, under here is part of, oh no, here it is here, the 3rd Battalion of the 100th Light Line Infantry Regiment. The others are hanging out behind the lines. And again, this the French artillery doing more damage than the Russian artillery. So the Russians have partly regrouped around here, but with the losses they've sustained, not feeling very happy about this attack on Stresen, and not really sure what to do. French artillery on the right, French artillery on the left, Hussars down in the south, some strong, I mean, most of this French infantry is very strong, 6 increments, full strength, full strength, full strength. I think only 1 increment lost from these skirmishes. Yeah, they're 7 out of 8. The Russians, again, considering that half the losses sustained on this day carry forward into the next day on the 26th of August, I'm thinking now that the Russians may just pull back. We'll see how things go over the next couple of turns, but their morale has really been shaken here. I mean, the Hussars are exhausted, of course, so it could give the Cossacks a chance to have a play. We will see. We'll see what happens. But at the moment, the French certainly have the upper hand. They're holding their ground very well and causing a lot of damage on this advanced guard division of the Russians. Okay, that's the end of the hour, as I said, and more to come.